Most people believe the hardest milestone in building wealth is becoming a millionaire. But strangely enough, that's not true. According to many experienced investors, the real turning point happens much earlier. And the number might surprise you. It's not $1 million, it's 100,000. Because something very interesting begins to happen once you cross that $100,000 mark. Your money starts growing in a way that feels completely different. Almost like the game suddenly changes. But here's the strange part. Most people never reach this point, not because it's impossible, but because they quit before the momentum begins. And later in this video, I'll show you something surprising. Why the journey from $0 to $100,000 is often much harder than going from $100,000 to $300,000. Let's start with a simple question. Why does $100,000 matter so much? Why not $10,000? Why not $1 million? Why this specific number? The answer has nothing to do with luxury, and everything to do with momentum. Financial momentum. When you first start building wealth, progress feels painfully slow. You save a little. You invest a little. Months pass. Sometimes even years. And the results barely move. This is why so many people feel like investing doesn't work. Because in the early stage, the numbers are simply too small. Imagine someone investing $1,000. If their investment grows by 8% in a year, they earn $80. That's nice, but it's not life-changing. Now imagine someone who has $100,000 invested. At the same 8% return, their money grows by $8,000 in 1 year. Suddenly, something feels different. Your money is no longer just sitting there. It's actually producing meaningful growth. And this is where the psychological shift happens, because for the first time, you start seeing your money work for you. But there's something even more powerful happening behind the scenes. Compound growth. Compound interest is often called the most powerful force in finance. But many people misunderstand how it really works. They think compounding makes people rich quickly. But the truth is the opposite. Compounding is incredibly slow in the beginning. So slow that many people quit before it becomes powerful. In the early years, growth looks almost invisible. But once the numbers get larger, the curve begins to bend. And that's when things start getting interesting. Let's look at a simple example. If you invest $100,000 and earn an average return of 8% per year, after 10 years, you would have around $215,000. But here's where the acceleration begins. After 20 years, that same investment could grow to about $466,000. And after 30 years, nearly $1 million. And that's without adding another dollar. This is the strange power of compound growth. It starts quietly, but eventually it becomes unstoppable. Now here's something most people never realize. The hardest part of building wealth is not reaching $1 million. The hardest part is reaching the first $100,000. Because before that point, your progress depends almost entirely on your own effort, your savings, your discipline, your patience. But after that point, something changes. Your investments begin contributing more and more to your growth. It's like pushing a heavy car. At first, it barely moves. But once it gains momentum, it becomes much easier to keep it rolling. But there's another reason the $100,000 milestone is so important. And it has nothing to do with math. It has to do with psychology. The journey to $100,000 forces you to develop the habits that create wealth. You learn discipline. You learn patience. You learn to delay gratification. And perhaps most importantly, you stop seeing money only as something to spend. You begin seeing money as something that can grow. This mindset shift is incredibly powerful because wealthy people don't just earn money, they build systems where money multiplies. Now you might be wondering something. If $100,000 is such a powerful milestone, why do so many people struggle to reach it? The answer is surprisingly simple. Lifestyle inflation. As people earn more money, they usually increase their spending. A better car, a bigger apartment, more expensive habits. And slowly, the gap between income and expenses disappears. Without that gap, building wealth becomes extremely difficult. Because wealth is created in that space between what you earn and what you spend. So how do people actually reach their first $100,000? There are three key principles. The first is consistency. Building wealth rarely comes from one big decision. It comes from hundreds of small ones. Saving regularly, investing regularly, and repeating that process for years. The second principle is automation. Many successful investors remove emotion from the process. They automate their investments. Money moves into investments every month before they even see it. This turns wealth building into a habit rather than a choice. And habits are much more reliable than motivation. The third principle is time. Time is the most underestimated factor in investing. Many people delay investing because they think they need more money first. But in reality, time matters far more than the starting amount. Someone who starts investing early gives their money decades to grow. And those decades are where compound growth becomes incredibly powerful. But here's the most important idea in this entire video. Reaching your first $100,000 is not about becoming rich. It's about creating momentum. Once you reach that point, wealth building stops feeling impossible. Your investments start generating real progress. You begin seeing growth that motivates you to continue. And step by step, that momentum builds. Eventually, something fascinating happens. Your money starts growing faster than the amount you personally contribute. Your investments begin doing a significant part of the work. And once that happens, the process becomes much easier to maintain. This is why many investors say the first $100,000 is the most difficult milestone, because it's the moment when the engine finally starts running. So if you are still early in your financial journey, don't focus on becoming a millionaire tomorrow. Focus on building your first $100,000, because that number represents something far more important than money. It represents discipline, consistency, and patience. And once those habits are in place, wealth becomes a natural result. Because the real secret to building wealth isn't luck, and it isn't earning millions overnight. It's reaching the point where your money begins working alongside you. And for many people, that moment starts with the first $100,000. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about how wealth actually works, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Because understanding money might be one of the most valuable skills you can ever develop. And sometimes, the biggest financial secrets are surprisingly simple. Like the power of your first $100,000.